5 go to Smuggler's Top by Enid Blyton. Dramatised by Edward Phillips. The road turned inland from time to time, but soon doubled back to follow the rocky coastline. As the car sped along, the children began to feel more and more excited. This Easter, their holidays looked like promising more adventures than ever before. They stared eagerly out of the windows. Georgina, who liked to be called George, in front with the driver, with Timmy the dog on the floor at her feet, and her cousins Julian, Dick and Anne in the back. Any moment now, they should be able to see Smuggler's Top on the horizon, and they could hardly contain their impatience.
Fancy living in a house called Smuggler's Top. I wouldn't mind changing places with Sooty Lenoir, I can tell you.
Why do you always call him Sooty? Isn't his name Pierre?
You'll know when you see him, Anne. His hair's as black as soot, his eyes are like 2 bits of coal, and his eyebrows look as if they've been put in with charcoal.
Yes, and his name's Lenoir. That's French for the black one.
Sooty's quite the maddest boy in school. He's very clever, but very cheeky. He never does anything he's told.
How did your father come to know his father, George?
Through their scientific experiments. That's why Mr. Lenoir offered to have us all to stay while the new roof is being put on Kieran Cottage.
It must have been a terrible storm.
The worst there's ever been. And now Mother has to stay and organise the builders. But she doesn't want us under her feet all day, so we're going to Smuggler's Top. And Father will come down later on so that he and Mr. Lenoir can talk about their work. I said I would only go if you could come too.
Well, I think it's jolly nice of Mr. Lenoir to have us for the whole 3 weeks. I can't wait to get there. It sounds so exciting.
You won't have much longer to wait, Sonny. That's Castaway up ahead of us, and there's Smuggler's Top right on the summit. The house with the big tower.
What a funny name for a town. Castaway. Why is it called that?
Nobody knows for sure, but it was once an island. Castaway in the sea, you might say. The sea's gone now, of course, but the country around is all swamp and marshland. Very dangerous. There's only one good road from the mainland, the one we're on now. Don't you go wandering away from it, or the marsh will have you. They do say there's 1 or 2 winding paths on the seaward side that were used before the road was built. But unless you know every inch of them, you'll find yourself sinking into the mud in no time at all. There's many's tried it, and never been heard of or seen again.
There seems to be a wall running right round the town.
Yeah, the old city wall's still there. You can walk all around the town on that wall. Just keep off the marshes, that's all.
20 minutes later, they were threading through the narrow streets of the town to the top of the hill. And then, there before them was the house itself, Smuggler's Top. And waiting for them in the driveway outside the front door was a very dark boy about Julian's age.
Hello, you lot.
Hello, Sooty.
Hello, Sooty.
This is Anne, our sister, and George, our cousin.
Oh, hello,
Sooty.
George, hello. Driver, you can take the car round to the back, and Block will take in the luggage and give you some tea. What on earth is that?
He's not an it, he's a he. He's Timmy, my dog.
Oh, gosh, weren't you told? My stepfather doesn't allow any dogs at Smuggler's Top. He hates them. I brought in a stray one once, and he gave me a licking. My stepfather, I mean, not the dog.
Well, if Timmy can't stay, I'm not staying either. I never go anywhere without him.
Oh, don't be silly, George. Surely we can get round it somehow.
Well, I don't know. Anyway, let's get him into the house. Then we'll see if we can think of something. Come on. No, not through the front door. Through this little door here. It's a sort of secret passage. This place is full of them. Now, we've got to be very, very quiet. This passage leads all the way up to my bedroom, but it goes past my stepfather's study, and I know he's in. I tell you, if he sees that dog, he'll pack you all into the car again and send you back.
Shut up, Timmy. We're all a bit scared, but there's no need to go on about it.
It's all right. We're past the study now. The passage gets a bit narrow from here on, so you'd better lead the way, Julian, as you're in front. I've got a torch on a ledge just about here. Yes, here it is. You take it and keep going, and I'll tell you what to do.
I've come to some stone steps going up.
Right. Go on up them, turn right, and you'll come to a blank wall. Come on, everybody, don't lag behind.
Timmy, will you shut up?
It's all right, George. We're coming up to the top of the house now. No one will hear us up here.
I've come to a blank wall, Sooty.
Shine your torch up to where the roof of the passage meets the wall. You'll see an iron handle. Press down on it hard.
Oh, the wall has slid back. I can't see a thing the other side, except... Why, it's clothes. A lot of clothes hanging up.
You're inside my wardrobe. Just push through them and open the wardrobe door. Come on, everybody, push through. This is my bedroom.
Gosh, isn't this fun?
Come on.
Right, here we are. Welcome to my bedroom. We're quite safe here. My room's separate from the rest of the house. I'm in a wing on my own, reached by a long passage. Timmy can bark as much as he likes now. No one will hear him.
Doesn't anyone ever come up here to clean or anything?
Oh, Sarah comes and does that every morning. But usually no one else comes. And I've got a way of knowing when anyone opens that door at the end of the passage. See this buzzer here? I rigged that up so whenever anyone opens the passage door, it rings and gives me plenty of warning. I'm always thinking up things like that.
I told you Sooty was clever, didn't I?
George, come and look at this view. What a steep precipice. It really gives me a very strange feeling to look down there.
Yes, Smuggler's top is built at the summit of the hill, and my bedroom looks right down the cliff. And there's the tower, see? Mine's the only room you can see it from.
I can't see the sea. It's all so misty.
You can see it on a clear day, but even then you can hardly tell where the marsh ends and the sea begins. They do say the sea's going back farther and farther all the time. There's a big scheme to drain the marshes and turn them into fields, but I don't know if that will ever happen. My stepfather knows all about it. In fact, I think it's his idea.
Now, Sooty, what are we going to do about Timmy?
Don't you worry, I've got it all worked out. But I warn you that if my stepfather ever finds out, we shall probably all get a jolly good thrashing and you'll be sent home in disgrace.
You keep saying, my stepfather, Sooty. Isn't he your real father, then?
No, my real father was his cousin. That's why he's called Lenoir, too.
What about your mother? Is she your real mother or your stepmother?
She's my real mother, Anne. You don't have a stepfather and a stepmother.
But why doesn't your stepfather like dogs? Is he afraid of them?
No, I don't think so. It's just that he won't have them in the house. He's rather strange in many ways.
Why? What does he do?
Well, he seems full of secrets. Odd people come here, and they come secretly without anyone knowing. I've seen lights shining over in the tower, too, in the middle of the night. I don't know who puts them there or why. I've tried to find out, but I can't.
Do you think your stepfather is a smuggler?
I don't think so, Julian, but we have got one smuggler in the town. Look, see that house over there to the right, lower down the hill? That's where he lives. His name's Barling. Even the police know he's a smuggler, but they can't catch him at it. He's very rich and very powerful, so he does what he likes, and no one else would dare do any smuggling in Castaway while he does it.
Well, this does seem an exciting place. I have a feeling there might be a wonderful adventure somewhere about.
Well, strange things do happen, but I don't know about a real adventure. It's just a feeling you get here mostly because the place is so old, so full of secret passages and pits and tunnels. The whole hill is full of them. They were used by smugglers in the old days, but nothing much actually ever happens. Nothing exciting, I mean. I think... It's my warning buzzer. Someone's opened the door at the end of the passage.
They'll see Timmy.
Quick, put him in the passage behind my wardrobe and shut the door.
Come on, Timmy. It's for your own good.
Let's just hope he doesn't bark. Now, everybody, act as though nothing unusual's going on. Well, perhaps I'd better show you where your bedrooms are, if you'd like to come with me. Oh, hello, Block. This is Block, everybody. He's my stepfather's assistant.
Good evening, Block.
He's deaf, George. He can't hear you.
Your stepfather wants to know why you've not brought your friends to see him. You're to come down at once, all of you.
What a strange man. I don't think I like him very much.
Neither do I, Anne. He suddenly appeared one day about a year ago. He just came, changed into that white linen coat, and went to do some work in my stepfather's room. I suppose my stepfather was expecting him, but he didn't say anything to my mother, I'm sure of that. She seemed very surprised. You want to be careful when he's around. He's as deaf as a post, but I sometimes think he can understand what you say.
By lip reading, you mean?
Yes, well, something like that. Anyway, we'd better go down. By the way, my stepfather is always smiling and joking, but it isn't real, somehow. He's quite likely to fly into a furious temper at the least little thing, so watch out.
What about Timmy?
He should be all right where he is until we come back. I'll lock the wardrobe door and take the key, just in case Block does a bit of snooping. Come on then, into the lion's den.
Enter!
Hello, Father. Here they all are. Sorry I rushed them off to my room, but I was so excited to see them
Your
all.
manners still need a little polishing, Pierre. Welcome to Smuggler's Top, children. Well, now, you're Anne, aren't you? I hope you won't feel left out with 4 boys for company.
Actually, George is a girl as well, Father.
What? Good gracious me, I'm sorry. George, do forgive me.
That's all right.
Well, children, I hope you all have a good time here. Pierre will show you the old town, and if you promise to be careful, you can walk along the road to the mainland to go to the cinema.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Lenoir.
Well, now, George. I'm looking forward to your father's visit. He and I have a lot to talk about. We've been doing the same kind of experiments, but he's got much further than I have. Now, Block will give you all your meals in Pierre's schoolroom, so that you will not disturb myself or my wife. I will not have idle talk at meal times. Pierre, I do not want you playing about on the city wall or wandering about in the tunnels. I've warned you about this repeatedly, and now that you have friends to stay, I will not have you taking unnecessary risks and endangering their lives.
Oh, I never take unnecessary risks, Father.
Don't contradict me, boy.
I wasn't, sir. I was only saying...
That's enough. I don't want any arguments. Just do as you're told, do you hear? Now leave me alone, all of you. I've work to do.
Yes, Father.
I see what you mean about your stepfather, Sooty.
What a strange man.
He can be quite nice, but the trouble is you never know where you are with him. Anyway, that's over. Come on, I'll show you where you're going to sleep. You're just over the corridor from me.
What about Timmy? We must arrange to feed him and exercise him. I do hope he'll be all right, Sooty. I'd rather leave straight away than have him unhappy.
He'll be all right. I'll give him the free run of the passage behind my wardrobe and make sure he gets plenty of water and his food. And we can smuggle him out through a secret tunnel that comes out halfway down the town and give him plenty of exercise each morning.
Another secret tunnel?
Yes. We'll be quite safe once we're in the town, because even if we meet Block or anyone else that knows us, they won't know it's our dog. We can say it's just a stray that's following us around.
Do you mean to say there's a secret tunnel that goes from underneath the house right down into the town?
Yes, and you'll get a surprise when I show you how to get into it. Here we are. These are your rooms. This one's for Julian and Dick. And this one's for George and Anne. At least Mother remembered you're a girl, George.
Are there any secret passages in our room, Sooty?
Not that I know of. Now then, this is the schoolroom, where we'll be having our meals. Come on in. I'll just lock the door in case friend Block comes snooping. Now, Dick, will you move that table out of the way? Julian, help me roll this carpet back.
What's the idea, Sooty?
This carpet is covering a trapdoor, and the trapdoor is the entrance to the tunnel that leads down into the town. There it is. Stand back while I get it open.
Gosh, that's a long way down. I can't see the bottom.
How do we get down? I can't see any steps.
There aren't any. Just a minute while I switch on my torch.
Good heavens.
Why, it seems to go down for miles.
It was probably used to hide people, or to get rid of them. Nice little place, isn't it? If you fell down there, you'd land with an awful bump.
But how in the world do we get down there?
Easy. Look here. I keep a rope ladder in this cupboard here, and that's how we get down.
But Timmy can't climb down a rope ladder.
I've already thought of that. You see that old laundry basket in the corner? We can fasten it to the end of the rope and lower him down that way.
Will it be strong enough? Timmy's a big dog.
Oh, yes, he'll be quite safe. But there's one important thing you've got to remember. The bottom of this pit is down in the hill, and there are tunnels leading off in all directions, miles and miles of them. No one explores them now because so many people have been lost in them. So you've got to stick close to me. Don't go wandering off on your own, and don't let Timmy off his lead. If you once get lost down there, it'll be the end of all of you.
Everything worked exactly as Sooty had planned. Next morning, after breakfast, they lowered Timmy down into the pit and followed him on the rope ladder. It took them 20 minutes to make their way through the maze of tunnels, and they would certainly have got hopelessly lost if Sooty hadn't been with them. But in the end, They emerged into the sunlight and found themselves at the end of a narrow alley. They walked along it and came out into a side street in the old town. The town was very old, and it had a tumble-down air, but plenty of people still lived there, and it was quite busy. The shops were quaint, with long, narrow windows and overhanging eaves, and they stopped at one of them, a butcher's, to buy some meat for Timmy. Everything seemed to be going very smoothly indeed. But then, as they came out into the street...
Good morning, children.
Oh, Block, good morning.
We were, just taking a walk.
He can't hear you, Julian.
You seem to have picked up a dog from somewhere. He's certainly taken a fancy to you. Can't you get rid of him? Get away, dog. Go on, get away!
Stop it! How dare you kick him like that?
It's no good shouting at him, George.
You seem very attached to this dog. Are you sure you've never seen him before? Mind you don't bring him back to Smuggler's Top with you. If you do, Mr. Lenoir will have him put down.
Oh, no, he won't. He wouldn't dare. If he lays a hand on Timmy, I'll...
We just exploring his time, sir.
We're going now.
What's going on here? Yet whatever's the matter?
Oh, Mr. Barling, nothing's the matter, thanks. It's only that this dog is following us, and Block kicked it to make it go away, and George here got upset. She's awfully fond of dogs.
I see, and who's George?
I am.
George and her cousins have come to stay with us from Kirin. At least George lives at Kirin, and...
Did you say Kirin? Isn't that where that clever scientist friend of Mr. Lenoir's lives?
Yes, he's my father. Do you know him?
I have heard of him. One of his very interesting ideas for draining the marshes. Your father knows him well, I believe, Pierre.
Not awfully well. They just write to one another, I think. But he is coming down for a visit in a day or two.
And Mr. Lenoir, of course, is only too delighted to have the whole lot of you to stay as well. Such a kind, generous man, your father, Pierre.
Yes, Mr. Barling.
Well, goodbye. You did say your name was George, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes, I see. Well, come along, Block. I don't think we need worry too much about the dog.
2 or 3 days went by, and the children began to enjoy their holidays tremendously. There were so many fascinating places to explore, and so many interesting things to do. Timmy was taken out each morning for a long walk, and there were no more unfortunate meetings with Block or anyone else who knew them. They saw very little of Mr. Lenoir, and they began to settle down quite nicely. And then, one night, Julian was awakened by someone opening his door and shining a torch in his face. It was Sooty, and his face was glowing with excitement. Without a word, he beckoned Julian to follow him, then woke Dick as well. The three of them crept back to Sooty's room and over to the window.
Do you remember my telling you about the light in the tower? Well, look over there. Can you see anything?
Gosh, yes. It's a light flashing on and off. Can you see it, Dick?
Yes. Somebody's signalling from the tower.
Do you think it could possibly be your father, Sooty?
No, I've checked. I went down to his bedroom and he's snoring away peacefully.
It might be Block. I wouldn't trust him an inch.
If it is Block, he's doing it without Father knowing, I'm sure. There's one way to find out. Let's go to his room. Come on, follow me. And when we get there, don't make a sound. Just leave everything to me. Look, his door's slightly open. Quiet as mice now.
Is he there?
He's in bed all right. Take a look for yourself. He's sound asleep. Come on, let's get out of here. That must be the noisiest door in the house. Good job Block's deaf.
If it isn't Block or your father in the tower, who on earth could it be?
Well, I'm sure it isn't Mother or Sarah the cook. I don't like it, Julian. Is there a stranger in our house? Someone we don't know living here in secret?
Maybe we ought to wake your father and tell him.
Look here. What about us going up to the tower and trying to peek through the door or something?
All right. I want to find out a whole lot more before I say anything to anyone. We shall have to be jolly careful, though. You get to the tower by a spiral staircase, and it's very narrow. If anyone suddenly comes down while we're going up... Here we are. There's the stairs going up to the tower. Now look, we better not all go up. If whoever's up there does come down suddenly, one of us would stand a better chance of getting away than three. You two wait down here. I'll go up and see if I can spy anything through the keyhole.
All right.
Good luck, Sooty.
What do you think that signalling light means, Julian?
I don't know, Dick, but it could be something to do with smuggling. We know there's a smuggler living in the town, Mr. Barling, and the goods have to be brought in somehow. If they come by sea, they have to be brought across the marshes. Remember, the man who drove us here said there were 1 or 2 paths across from the sea to the town. If there's a ship out there waiting to unload, whoever's up there in the tower is probably signalling to say it's safe to come across. Then, when the goods arrive...
Julian, listen!
It's Sooty! He's coming down!
Wait a minute, Julian. Sooty had his slippers on. These footsteps sound like shoes.
Quick! Duck down behind this chest! Hurry!
My golly, it's a good job we hid. That wasn't Sooty.
Did you see who it was?
Not really. But I could have sworn it was Block.
But it couldn't have been Dick. Block's fast asleep in his room. We saw him ourselves.
Well, it certainly looked like him. Julian, you don't suppose there are 2 Blocks, do you? Or someone who...
Shh! There's someone else coming down the stairs. Is that you, Sooty?
Oh, there you are. He came out. I only just managed to hide in time. I popped into a recess by the door. Did you see who it was?
No, it was too dark, but he looked awfully like Block.
Do you know, that's what I thought too. But there's something else, Julian. I crept into the tower room after whoever it was had gone and took a look out of the window. That side of the tower looks over the marshes towards the sea, and coming across the marshes was a string of little tiny lights.
Then it is smugglers.
You may be right. My guess is that they probably came over from France and sailed up as near to the marshes as they could. Then they waited for a signal to tell them that the coast was clear, and then started across the marsh. Each man was carrying a torch. That was the lights I saw. I expect there's someone waiting to meet them at the edge of the marsh below the hill.
Yes, but who? That's the question, Sooty. Who? And who on earth was signalling from the tower?
The next morning, the boys told George and Anne about the night's adventures, and the girls, especially George, were furious that they hadn't been called to join in the fun. They all went into the schoolroom and sat down to wait for Sarah to bring in their breakfast. Presently, the door opened and they looked up expectantly.
Sarah is out for the day. I shall be serving your breakfast.
Oh, all right, Block. He doesn't look as if he got much sleep last night.
Getting back to last night, from now on we've got to keep our eyes and ears open. There's something very strange going on in this house, and it...
Oh, no! It's Timmy! He must be just behind the wall.
Sooty, you don't think Block...
Don't say a word. Pretend not to hear anything, even if Timmy barks again. What on earth is he barking for anyway?
I expect he's chasing a rat. I only hope he catches it quickly. If he barks again, we'll...
jolly good breakfast, isn't it? I must say,
these bacon and eggs are
it's jolly good.
And these are the best cornplates I've ever tasted. I wonder how
I'll
everybody's
be
getting on
back
the top.
later to clear away.
Phew. Do you think he heard?
I could have sworn I saw a surprised look come into his eyes when Timmy barked.
Well, if he could hear him, which I don't believe, he must have been jolly surprised to see us talking away and not paying any attention at all.
I don't think he heard anything.
Let's hope you're right.
It's a jolly good job my stepfather never comes up here. If he thought for one moment that...
Good morning, children. Enjoying your breakfast?
Oh, yes, thank you, Father.
We were just saying, sir, that the food here is excellent.
Yeah, good, good, good. I'm so pleased that you're all enjoying yourselves and keeping out of trouble. Oh, by the way, George, I'm putting your father in Pierre's room, so I don't want you children playing in there today. Block and Sarah have to get it ready for him, so just keep out of their way. And when your father arrives... What was that?
What was what, sir?
That boy, that! It sounded exactly like a dog barking.
Oh, we didn't hear anything, Mr. Lenoir.
What's going on here? If I thought that...
Absolutely nothing.
I can't hear anything.
Silence, all of you! Now, don't tell me you can't hear it. That's a dog, I tell you, a dog barking behind the wall.
It's the wind, sir.
Probably a seagull.
I can hear a door banging somewhere.
Window rattling.
It's a dog, and you know it. Now, where is it? Who does it belong to?
There's no dog.
There's
sir.
no- I can't
No,
hear
be
it.
sure.
Be quiet, all of you. Now, listen.
I'm sorry, sir, but we can't hear anything that sounds like a dog barking. Really?
Well, understand this. I will not be made a fool of. And meanwhile, I shall look for this dog, and when I find him, I shall have him put down. I will not have dogs in my house.
Golly. Now what are we going to do?
Does your stepfather know about the secret passage, Sooty?
I'm not sure. I think he does, but I don't know whether he knows where the entrances are.
Well, we've got to do something. I can't take the risk of having Timmy caught. We've got to get him out and hide him somewhere else.
We can't.
What do you mean?
We can't get into my room. Didn't you hear my father? Block is probably in there now, tidying up and moving my things to Julian and Dick's room. There's no chance of getting to the secret passage while he's in there. And if I know Block, he'll lock the door when he's finished and take the key with him.
What about the outside entrance?
We can't risk that in broad daylight.
Poor Timmy. What on earth are we going to do?
There's just one chance. It's pretty desperate, but it might just work.
What is it?
Your father's not arriving until late this evening. If Timmy hasn't been found by then, and we'll just have to hope he hasn't, my stepfather probably won't want to bother with anything until the morning. George's father will be pretty tired, and chances are he'll want to go straight to bed. Now, when he unlocks his room, that'll be our chance. I'll creep in there when he's asleep, get through into the secret passage, bring Timmy out the same way, and we'll keep him in here overnight. Then first thing in the morning, we can sneak him down to town through the hidden pit. I know someone who would look after him for us until the end of the holidays.
Sounds awfully risky.
Yes, but it's a good idea if we can work it. Of course, I'd still have the problem of getting Timmy home at the end of the holidays and explaining to Father how he'd suddenly turned up again. Father may be absent-minded, but he's sure to have noticed that Timmy's not at home and that I may have brought him with me. But as long as Timmy hasn't been found here, I think the whole thing will have blown over by then, as far as Mr. Lenoir is concerned. And I'll think of some explanation for Father when I get home. Sooty, I think it's worth a try.
Good. That's what we'll do then. And let's just hope that Timmy keeps quiet till tonight.
Timmy did keep quiet, and by the afternoon, Mr. Lenoir thought that perhaps he might, after all, have been mistaken. When George's father arrived, it was gone 11 o'clock, and after a very brief conversation with Mr. Lenoir, he went straight to bed. The children waited until all was still, and then Sooty crept quietly into the bedroom. He hid behind the big armchair, waiting until his eyes grew accustomed to the gloom, and he was sure that George's father was asleep. For some time, the man in the bed tossed and turned. Sooty grew sleepy himself, and yawned silently. And then, suddenly, he heard a sound over by the window. It was a very small sound, like the tiny creak of a door. The window did not move, but something strange was happening under it, near the sill. There was a big window seat there, and it looked as if the lid was slowly moving upwards, bit by bit. Sooty was puzzled. That seat had always been screwed down, and he thought it was just a seat and nothing else. And then the lid was wide open and resting against the window pane. A figure got out cautiously, not making the slightest sound, and tiptoed over to the bed. It made a quick and sudden movement, and there was a stifled sound from George's father. The intruder lifted the limp body from the bed and carried it to the window seat. What he had done to make George's father unable to resist, Sooty couldn't guess. As the mysterious figure bent over the window seat and lowered George's father inside, Sooty started forward to get a better look, and then, suddenly, someone hit him hard on the back of his head, and everything went black. The others, meanwhile, were all waiting anxiously in the schoolroom. Hearing faint noises from next door, they looked at each other in alarm. They waited a few moments, wondering what to do for the best. The noises stopped, and all was quiet again. They tiptoed into the bedroom and cautiously switched on the light.
There's nobody here.
What on earth has happened? Where's my father?
And where's Sooty? They must have gone into the secret passage. Come on, we better follow them.
Julian, the iron handle that opens the door in the wardrobe. It's gone. Somebody's taken it away.
What? Well, they can't have gone that way then.
But they can't just have vanished into thin air.
Julian, the window seat. It's open.
They can't be hiding in there, George. There isn't room.
Yes, but look inside. There's a trap door.
Let's have a look. You're right, George. Just a minute.
It's the opening to another secret passage.
Be careful, George. It's a long way down.
There are iron rungs down the side. They must have gone down there, Julian. Why would they do that?
Come on, we've got to go down after them.
No, we'd better not. You know what Sooty said about those tunnels? We might get lost. I think we'd better go and tell Mr. Lenoir.
Yes, but if he's mixed up in all this...
We'll have to risk it, George. If he is, we'll be able to tell by his reaction, and then at least we'll know. Anyhow, this is too serious to keep to ourselves. We've got to tell Mr. Lenoir. And that's all we know, sir. George's father and Sooty, Pierre, have disappeared completely, and it's our belief that they've been kidnapped and taken down under the house through that window seat.
Kidnapped? You're talking nonsense, boy. Why should anyone want to kidnap them?
We don't know, sir, but we think Block might have something to do with it.
Block? Why, that's absurd. I've known Block for years. He's absolutely trustworthy. Can't help being deaf. It makes me a bit irritable at times.
We're not sure he is deaf.
Don't talk rubbish. Of course he's deaf. He's a most faithful and loyal servant, and he's been a great help to me in my work.
We're pretty sure that it was him signalling from the tower, sir, though we don't know how he managed to get back to his room.
Signalling from... What are you talking about?
We saw someone signalling from the tower.
Oh, this is all utter nonsense.
It's not, sir. It's the truth. And we know that Block knows Mr. Barling, and that Barling is a smuggler.
Barling? Well, yes, there have been rumours about him, but...
Well, whatever the explanation is, my father has disappeared, and so has your son, Mr. Lenoir, and I think we ought to go down through the window seat to find them.
You'll do no such thing. If you get lost in those tunnels, you'll never come out alive.
But we've got to find them, and Timmy too.
Timmy? Who's Timmy?
You might as well know everything now, sir. Timmy is George's dog. We've been keeping him in the secret passage.
Well, so that's it. You have behaved very foolishly, all of you. But the important thing now is to find out what has happened to your father and Pierre. However, you will not attempt to find them yourselves. I absolutely forbid it. This is a matter for the police. I shall call them immediately. And in the meantime, be good enough to call Block so that we can establish once and for all that he has nothing to do with this business.
But Mr. Lenoir was wrong about Block, for when they went to wake him, they found that a large bolster and 2 pillows had been cleverly arranged under his blankets to make it look as though he was sound asleep in his bed. But Block was nowhere near his bedroom. He was a long way off, in a little cave off one of the secret passages deep down below the house. He was standing over the bound figures of George's father and Sooty, and next to him, holding a lantern, was Mr. Barling himself.
Why did we have to bring the boy along?
Well, we couldn't leave him there, Block. He would have raised the alarm. It's a good job I came up behind him when I did. Did you mark the way as I told you?
Yes, I fastened the string to the side of the tunnel just below the window seat, and I've been unwinding it all the way along to the cave here.
Good. I wouldn't want to get lost down here. We'd never find our way out in a month of Sundays. Hello, the boy's coming round.
Block. So you are mixed up in this. You wait until my stepfather hears
Keep your mouth shut or I'll shut it for you.
So you're not deaf?
No, I'm not. And if I have any more cheek from you...
Save it, Block. The other one's coming round. Sit him up on this chair.
Where am I? What's happening? Who are you?
My name is Barling. I'm sorry I had to bring you here in this way, but I want to talk to you, and I was sure you wouldn't have come willingly. Don't worry, it's only a mild sedative that Block put in your coffee. There won't be any permanent effects.
What? Do you mean to say I've been drugged? Now look here, I don't know what you're up to, but I demand that you release me at once.
Now don't be hasty, please. I have a very generous proposal to make to you. I know why you've come to Smuggler's Top. I know why you and Lenoir are so interested in each other's experiments.
How do you know? We've told nobody.
It's Block. He's been spying, listening to everything that's been going on.
Oh. I told you to keep quiet.
And I told you to save that for later. Now, my dear sir, I will tell you what I propose. You may have heard that I'm a smuggler. Well, I am. I make a lot of money from it. It is easy to run a smuggling trade here because no one can patrol the marshes or stop men using the secret path that only I and a few others know. On favourable nights, I send out a signal, or rather Block here does so for me, using the convenient tower at Smuggler's top. Then when the goods arrive, I dispose of them, covering my tracks very carefully so that no one can possibly accuse me because they have never got any real proof.
Well, why are you telling me all this? It's of no interest to me. I'm only interested in draining the marshes, not in smuggling goods across them.
Exactly, my dear fellow, I know that. I've seen your plans and read about your experiments and Mr. Lenoir's. But the draining of the marsh means the end of my business. Once the marsh is drained, once houses are built there and roads made across it, my business is finished. Now, I know that Lenoir is going to buy your plans from you. I know he's going to drain the marsh by using your very excellent ideas. All that marshland belongs to him, and he intends to develop it. But the marsh is not going to be drained, because I'm going to buy your plans, not Lenoir. And when I have bought them, I shall destroy them. I want the marsh left as it is, secret, covered with mist, and treacherous to all but me and my men. But don't worry, I intend to be very generous. I've prepared the document of sale here, and all you have to do is to name your price, I shan't argue, and sign it.
Oh, you're mad! You can't possibly hope to get away with this.
Why not? Once you've signed, the plans are mine. I shall have the law on my side for a change. If you go to the police, I shall deny everything, but the plans will still be legally mine. And you will sign, my dear sir. Make no mistake about it. You will sign. A few days down here in the dark without food or water. Oh, you'll sign all right.
Don't sign anything, sir. Don't you see? Once you've signed, they'll never let us out of here. They'll just go away and leave us to die.
Right, you've asked for it, and now you're going to get it. I've been waiting a long time for this.
Just a minute, Block. What was that?
What?
I thought I heard something outside in the tunnel. Listen.
You're imagining things.
Well, maybe you're right. Oh, it's probably just it.
Timmy!
Good old Timmy!
Come on, Timmy, get them, get them!
What is it? Come on, let's get out of here, Block!
Timmy, you wonderful old thing! I don't know how you got here, but we're glad to see you.
What on earth is Timmy doing here?
Well, it's rather a long story. You see...
Hello! Sooty! Where are you? Father, are you there?
It's George and the others. We're in here! Hurry up, our hands and feet are tied!
Here you are.
And Timmy! So it was you I heard barking.
Georgina! However did you find us?
We came down the same way you did, through the window seat. And then we found the string and guessed it was left by the kidnappers to mark the way, so we just followed it. And we heard Timmy barking and a lot of shouting, and we followed the noise and saw two men running off in the opposite direction.
Just a minute, just a minute. I don't understand a word of this. But just untie us first and show us the way back to the house. You can fill in all the details later. Quite a few people have got a lot of explaining to do.
Right, sir. Come on, Dick. Give me a hand.
Gosh, I wonder what my stepfather's going to say when we tell him everything that's happened.
I don't know what to say. The whole thing's absolutely incredible. I thought I told you children on no account to go down under the hill.
It's a good job they did, Lenoir. We'd never have found our way out otherwise.
Yes, well, I still can't believe it. I mean, Block, of all people, and Barling. Well, you got your proof now, Inspector.
Oh, we've been trying to get something on him for years, Mr. Lenoir, but he was too crafty. Fancy him planting Block here as a spy. That was a clever bit of work.
Yes, and Block pretending he was deaf so that he could listen in to any conversation without arousing suspicion. Very clever indeed, huh?
What are we going to do about Block and Barling, sir? They're probably still wandering about in that maze of tunnels, thanks to Timmy.
Yes, that dog saved our lives. Bit of luck, that. Sorry you don't like dogs, Lenoir, but you have to admit it was a lucky thing for us all that he was here.
Yes, it was.
Timmy, come and say hello to Mr. Lenoir.
Well, he looks friendly enough, I must say.
Could we keep him, please, Mr. Lenoir, while we stay? We could get someone in the town to look after him.
Well, seeing he's such a very fine fellow and seems so sensible, I'll let you keep him here.
Hooray!
Only please keep him out of my way. You see, I'm allergic to dogs, even friendly ones like Timmy.
You'll never know he's here, Mr. Lenoir. I'll keep him right out of sight. Oh, thank you so much. It's awfully good of you.
When you want to get rid of him, sound to me, miss. We could do with a dog like that on the force. Soon round up smugglers for us. In fact, I'd like to borrow him to find Barling and Block. Can't leave them down there. Bad as they are, we'll have to rescue them. Well, Timmy's the only one who can find them.
We'll have to ask Timmy about that. What do you think, Timmy? Will you help the inspector to round up the smugglers?
Timmy's the greatest.
So Timmy went underground once more and hunted for his enemies. It didn't take him long to find them, lost without their string to guide them in the maze of passages and tunnels. He took them like sheep to where the police waited for them. And after that, Mr. Barling and Mr. Block disappeared from public life for quite a long time. Mr. Lenoir and George's father spent a happy few days together discussing their experiments, and arrangements were made for the marshes to be drained. Then George's father went home, and the children stayed on with Timmy until the end of the holidays. There were no more adventures, but they didn't mind. They'd had enough for one holiday. And when the time came to go home, they were all agreed on one thing. They would never forget Smuggler's Top.